And we are back, American Football News. This is the NFL Playoff Edition. Be sure to check out our other shows pertaining to recaps for the week. The NFL just concluded their final regular season, Week 17. We just put up a podcast talking about that, some of the results and some of the scores from around the league. But this particular show is all about the NFL playoffs. That's right, 2018 is done and over with, and the NFL playoffs are here. We are at Wildcard Round week, my favorite week of pro football, because you've got the little guys that maybe emerged at the end of the year and have got their seat at the table. You had the big dogs that ran the game from the very beginning of the season, who are kind of waiting at the table to see who they're going to play. And then you've got those teams that are kind of in between. Maybe the injury bug bit them. Maybe things didn't start off very well, and now all of a sudden they're really, really clicking. This is my favorite round because you never know what you're going to get, and you never know who's going to show up. I've seen terrible teams, absolutely terrible teams, make the playoffs only to go all the way. Who can forget the 2006 Pittsburgh Steelers, who were the first team to win every game on the road and go to the Super Bowl and win. The conclusion being in my hometown in Detroit, Michigan, against the Seattle Seahawks, who themselves at the time had never been to the Super Bowl, and was the final game for Detroit home kid Jerome Bettis, also one of my favorite Steelers, also one of my favorite Notre Dame Fighting Irish. That's just what the NFL playoffs bring, an air of unpredictability and excitement. And if this year is any indication of what's to go on, i.e. the regular season, the playoffs are going to be very, very exciting. So we take a look at the AFC side of things. Before we get to the actual playoff setting, we'll take a look at the individual conferences here really quick. In the AFC East, only one team went to the playoffs, and it's the team that goes more often than not, the New England Patriots, who finished out the season 11-5, followed in second place by the Miami Dolphins, then the Buffalo Bills, and at the bottom of the barrel, the New York Jets, who finished a disappointing 4-12. Move over to the AFC North, who had the potential to put in two playoff teams, but because of the wins and the ties and the losses and the this and the that, blah, 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 only one team was able to get in from the North, and that would be the Baltimore Ravens, who were on the outside looking in last year. They were that team sitting on their hands and knees, waiting for that final game to conclude and hoping that the right teams won and lost in order for them to get in. However, last year that didn't happen. The Steelers got in. This year, the complete opposite. Baltimore gets in. Pittsburgh's on the outside looking in. Anyways, Baltimore wins the AFC North with a 10-6 record, followed closely by the second-place Pittsburgh Steelers, who went 9-6-1. All is not well in Pittsburgh. Antonio Brown wants out. Don't forget, Le'Veon Bell is probably on his way out. And who knows about Big Ben? So the Killer Bees are breaking up, and Pittsburgh is in trouble a little bit. Third place, Cleveland Browns, 7-8-1, who could have finished 8-8. Wow. Didn't think I was going to say that. I did predict at the beginning of the year they were going to make the playoffs. My prediction was not very well predicted, I guess you could say. But they came closer, and they won 3 times as many games as the Detroit Lions in the season after they went 0-16. So Baker Mayfield, you've got Cleveland buzzing again, and you guys are going to be interesting to watch here next year. At the bottom of the basement in the AFC North, the Cincinnati Bengals, who finished 6-10. Kind of unusual. They do very well in the regular season, but this year they fell short, and as a result, they cut ties with their head coach after 16 years. Good move, bad move, either way. He brought winning back to Cincinnati. He couldn't win in the playoffs, but he brought winning back to Cincinnati. So an interesting move nonetheless. Cincinnati's got their work cut out for them at the end of the year as well. In fact, this entire division outside of Cleveland and Baltimore and even Baltimore is going to be a question mark because of their quarterback situation, have a lot of work to do in the offseason. Switching gears to the AFC South, this division put in 2 teams. Had the potential to put in 3, probably should have put in 3, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles. The Houston Texans are the champions of the AFC South with an 11-5 record, a 1-game advantage over the second-place team, who are also playoff bound, the Indianapolis Colts, who finished the season 10-6. If you're the Tennessee Titans, you had a pretty good year. You finished with a winning record. You finished 9-7. But you also didn't have a good year at the same time because you fell short of the ultimate goal of making the playoff. And if you're the Jacksonville Jaguars, you don't know what the hell happened this year. Last year was a fluke, apparently. You guys are back in the basement, and it looks like you're going to stay in the basement because you don't have a running back, you don't have a quarterback, you don't have a wide receiver, and you don't have a defense. I don't know what happened to you guys. You guys were my favorites at the beginning of the year to make the playoffs and win this particular division. It looked incredibly weak. And you guys pulled a Michigan State Spartans on me, and same old Jacksonville. So hopefully you guys get it together next year. Maybe you go out of your way and look for a playoff or look for a quarterback. I'm looking at you, Matt Stafford. But, only time will tell. And we go to the AFC West to conclude this AFC tour of the playoffs or playoff teams. The Kansas City Chiefs were the best team pretty much from the get-go. Finished with 12-4, but their counterparts, the LA Chargers, nobody really saw them be this good. They share the AFC West with the Kansas City Chiefs. Both these teams both sitting at 12-4, both heavily favored to go all the way when it comes to the AFC side of the playoff picture. I gotta like Kansas City, though. Their quarterback is a little bit more electrifying, and he's young, and he knows how to work himself out of a jam. At least he has a couple times this year. Phillip Rivers and company, I like the LA Chargers, but history is working against them. They've only made the Super Bowl once. They've put together these high-scoring teams before, only to fall short either in the divisional round or in the AFC Championship game. I'm rooting for you. I really want you to do well, especially since you moved from San Diego. Things have been very, very good for you guys, but I don't see you getting past the division round. So only time will tell. I hope I'm wrong, but who knows? All right, we switch over to the NFC side of things really quick here with about 7 minutes left. The NFC East is going to put 2 teams in. Again, the defending Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles are actually the number 2 team in the NFC East with a 9-7 record. This is a team, again, that had to win out just like they did last year to even sniff the playoffs. They did. They did it with the same quarterback from last year, Nick Foles. But they're starting Carson Wentz this particular weekend. Is that a good move or is that a bad move, Eagle Nation? If it were me, I'd put in Foles. My guess is they're going to put in Wentz until he screws up, and then Foles will come in and clean house and hopefully lead the Eagles to victory. Who are the Eagles playing? Well, they're playing the Dallas Cowboys, who are 10-6 and won the NFC East. Again, this is a Dallas Cowboys team that really didn't impress me or wow me at all this year. Ezekiel Elliott playing okay. Dak Prescott playing okay. Losing their wideout, Dez Bryant, halfway through the year to the New Orleans Saints, who ended up breaking his ankle or rupturing his Achilles in practice. A lot of drama behind this team, but that's what Jerry Jones wants. He wants you to talk about America's team, and no news is bad news, apparently. So interesting matchup this next weekend. Switch gears to the NFC North. The Chicago Bears were in control of this division from the very get-go. With a 12-4 record, they made the playoffs a couple weeks ago, securing a victory over the Minnesota Vikings, who finished with a winning season, 8-7-1, but you don't pay Kirk Cousins or a quarterback millions of dollars to finish in second place and not make the playoffs. The third-place team in the NFC North, sitting at 6-9-1, the Green Bay Packers. They gutted their coaching staff. Aaron Rodgers might be on the docket. That team's kind of older and banged up, but it's Green Bay. You can never really count them out. And the bottom of the barrel, if you're following the NFC North, is nobody surprising. The Detroit Lions woefully underplaying this year, 6-10 on the year. Kind of pooched themselves this last weekend out of a higher draft pick or draft spot for the upcoming NFL draft. But the sweep over the Packers, I think, was much more important, and I think Lions fans and the Lions organization in general will tell you that a sweep of the Green Bay Packers is a much better idea than a higher draft pick, than throwing in the game on purpose. Switch over to the NFC South. The New Orleans Saints have been in control all year, have tied with the LA Rams as the best team in the NFL for the regular season. This was the worst division in the NFC. Only one team getting in. Everybody else has losing records. New Orleans sitting at 13-3. Atlanta and Carolina both disappointing and finished the season with losing records at 7-9. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the bottom of the basement, just like always, sitting at 5-11. Move over to the NFC West. The final two playoff teams are from this particular division. The LA Rams, the second best team in the entire NFL, finished with a record of 13-3, and the Seattle Seahawks finished in second place, right behind them at 10-6. The next two teams in the NFC West, with their win totals combined, still didn't have as many wins as Seattle or LA or Carolina or Atlanta or Minnesota or Washington or Philadelphia. These two teams were just bad. No real reason why, just bad. The San Francisco 49ers finished out the year 4-12, and the Arizona Cardinals, the worst team in the NFL this past year, finished out a disappointing 13-3. So, with the divisions all set and clear, we move on to the playoff picture. The wild cards, the top team in each division advances to the playoffs. The two top non-division winners in each conference will be the wild card teams and will advance to the playoffs. So the division leaders, if you were playing the home game for the AFC, were as follows. Your number one team is going to be the Kansas City Chiefs, followed by the New England Patriots. Third place, the Houston Texans, and the number four team, the Baltimore Ravens, the last division leader. The final two spots, the wild card spots, these are the teams that didn't win the division, go to the LA Chargers and the Indianapolis Colts. Of these two teams, the Chargers are definitely the stronger of the teams. Not as strong as New England, but definitely better than Indianapolis and Baltimore, at least in my opinion, definitely better than Indianapolis and Baltimore. On the outside looking in, these next three teams were literally just one win away from getting in, and one of the teams in the wild card or division leader section to lose. This would be a totally different picture. Pittsburgh, the number one team on the outside looking in, followed by Tennessee and Cleveland. All these teams played very well this year. The AFC, always interesting to watch. Pittsburgh, again, if they would have taken care of business earlier in the year, or maybe had an answer for some of those blowout games that seem to jump out at them once a year, I don't think that they would be in this conversation. However, it is what it is, and you got to play with the cards that you're dealt. All right, with a minute left, we take a look at the NFC. The division leaders are as follows. The New Orleans Saints were the top team, followed by the LA Rams. Third place, the Chicago Bears, and fourth, the Dallas Cowboys. The wild card round was an interesting one, just like it always is in the NFC, with the Seattle Seahawks and Philadelphia Eagles claiming those final two spots. On the outside looking in, really the only team in the NFC that had a legitimate shot were the Minnesota Vikings, sitting at 8-7-1, but again falling short of their season high expectations and their quarterback underperforming we hope that that's a situation that gets corrected quickly. All right, 5 seconds left. Be sure to watch the playoffs this weekend, and talk to you later.